Applique usually gets boxed in with country quilts and cutesy craft projects, but honestly, it really doesn't have to be that way. Today, I'm going to show you how I use applique to create contemporary sculptural pillows using deadstock fabric, no quilting skills required. This is one of my favorite ways to turn leftover fabric into something functional and beautiful. In this video, I will walk you through every step of how I design and make one of my abstract applique pillow covers. From sketching the shapes, prepping the stencils, sewing it together, and adding a hidden zipper for a clean finish. Whether you're brand new to applique or just looking for a more modern take, you'll be able to follow along. Okay, let's get into the materials. So I'm using fabric scraps from my studio. They're all deadstock, and I will also be layering them with fusible interfaces. You will also need an iron, some fabric scissors, or a rotary cutter, some paper to print your stencils, a zipper for the closure, and also a basic sewing machine that can do a zigzag stitch. Now I'll walk you through each step, and everything I use will be listed in the description below. I like to start by drawing abstract, organic shapes. Nothing too precise, just following intuition here. And once I'm happy with the layout, I export it as a JPEG so I can prep it for printing. Next, I will open my file into GIMP, which is a free image editor. You can also use Photoshop or another tool if you prefer. I use the photocopy filter to convert the image into clean black and white outlines. This saves my printer a bit of ink and still makes it easy enough to cut it out later. Then I head over to rasterbator.net. It's a free online tool that lets you scale an image to a custom size and print it across multiple letter size pages. I set the final size to 18 by 18 inches to match my pillow, and then I export the PDF to print at my studio. Once everything is printed, we can go ahead and tape each of the pages together. I like to label each of the shapes the corresponding color to keep things organized. Next, we will go ahead and just cut out each of the shapes. I like to use a precision blade to do this. I'm using deadstock and some scrap fabric left over in my studio. I really love the textures and irregularities you get from working with these leftovers. Next, I will place my stencils onto the fabric, layering the fusible interfacing underneath. Then I cut around each of the shapes with a rotary blade, but you can also use scissors for this. My next step is to cut out the front part of the pillow cover. We're going with 18 by 18 inches and adding a 1 centimeter seam allowance. Once everything's cut out, I lay out the composition on the pillow front. I really try to take my time here, making sure to adjust the spacing and placement until it feels just right. I then move over to the ironing table to fuse the pieces with an iron. We've now reached the final step of the applique process, where we will sew around each shape using a zigzag stitch. I match the thread color to the fabric, which gives the final look a more refined and seamless look. This is probably the most time-consuming step, but also pretty meditative. Now we'll move to the back part of the pillow cover. This is where we will place the zipper. So we will have a top panel and a bottom panel. The width will be obviously the same as the front part of the pillow, but we'll want to add an extra inch to the length of the pillow plus seam allowance. With this additional inch of length on the pillow, we will be able to create a flap that will hide the zipper. I like my zipper placed about 4 inches from the top of the pillow. Therefore, the bottom panel should be cut at about 14 inches plus seam allowance, and the top panel should be cut at 5 inches plus seam allowance. Next, we will head over to the sewing machine and sew the zipper to the bottom panel and then add a top stitch. Now we will sew the zipper to the top panel. To create the flap, we will need to sew an L shape on the back side of the zipper, starting from the edge of the zipper and then turning out to the edge of the pillow cover. If you want, I can do a separate tutorial on how to sew this particular zipper flap. Just let me know in the comments. And to finish the zipper, we will just do a top stitch across the top of the flap. Final step on the sewing machine is to sew the front and back panels together, right sides facing. I did an overlock stitch around all of the edges, but it's not a necessary step if you don't have a serger. Now we're ready to flip it right side out and give it a final press. Okay, moment of truth. Here is how it turned out. This one was definitely a little experimental, but I'm pretty happy with the result. It's just really so satisfying to see scraps of fabric turn into something so unique and useful. If you enjoyed this tutorial and want to try making your own version of this pillow, please let me know in the comments. I am considering turning this design into a downloadable template. And if you'd rather just skip the sewing, this exact pillow is available on my shop, Riinu Studio, made from studio scraps and stitched with care. If you like slow design focused tutorials, I'd love if you subscribed. I'm building a library of creative resources for people who want to make artful, useful things with their hands. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope it inspires you to make something beautiful, even if it's a little strange.